Hi, I'm Mike, and this is Jess. Welcome to Goodwin's Farm 207.
First of all, we want to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and today's video is going to be about a little bit of a storm update and our holiday update. We're also going to talk to you a little bit about emergency readiness for your livestock guardian dogs and your livestock. Some of the things that we do are probably a little bit controversial. There's definitely a lot of debate on how to raise your livestock guardian dogs and things like that. Again, you know, our rule is your farm, your rules, our farm, our rules. So stay tuned. This should be interesting.
Yeah, stick around. So we are back in the kitchen, and we're going to talk about a couple of things.
Yeah, so as we mentioned in our intro, we're going to give you a little bit of a storm update, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of our emergency management, crisis planning. Some of that might be a little controversial, but again, it's how we do things. We're not saying you have to do it that way, but it's just kind of what's worked for us.
Yeah. So the storm that we had here in Maine was all over the news, but if you didn't hear about it, we got hit with some record-breaking wind and rain, something that the state hasn't seen at all in recent memory. There was lots of flooding, lots of trees down, power outages, kind of crazy stuff. We fared okay. There's a lot of people that didn't. A lot of people lost a lot, but fortunately we didn't. A little bit of damage, power outage for a couple days, but we made it through.
Yeah, and you know, obviously it's tragic that this happens any time of year, but especially right now, right before the holidays, coming off of a really hard, difficult year as far as growing season and everything else here in Maine. It's definitely a hard blow to the farming community. I know, like for us, we're small hobby farmers. It's not like we mass produce lots of things. But your smaller farmers really do help keep your community's food supply secure. And the fact that, you know, when there was an egg shortage or crisis, the local farmers, the hobby farmers are the ones who stepped up to make sure their neighbors and communities were taken care of. So if you have resources available this year, I highly recommend, you know, helping out your local community farmers, whether it's purchasing goods from them or sending them a Christmas card, words of encouragement. If they take donations, donating to them if you're able, because it really is, it's been a rough year for farmers across the board. I know we've had at least 5 different farmers that I've known of personally here that have kind of hung up their boots and they're walking away from the life because they just can't make it. And that's always sad to see, but it's a bigger problem because without farmers, none of us have food. So it's kind of devastating that's happening. So definitely support your local communities and your local farms, and whatever you can do or able to do. I know it would be appreciated because we appreciate the support we get in our community.
Absolutely.
And it's a big encouragement. Just a Christmas card or a thank you goes a long ways for your farmers too.
Yeah. So circling back to the weather that we experienced, we were certainly blessed to have not been hit too hard with any damage. You know, we did have a couple of sections of fencing that failed, but they were easily repaired. We did get some damage to the roof of our barn, but we were able to save the hay that we had stored in there. You know, we had some extra plastic sheets and tarps and stuff, and we moved some hay around and got everything protected.
Which again is why it's really important to have a plan on what you're going to do in the event of, and being as prepared as you possibly can. I want to credit Michael for that too. He's really good about emergency planning and having spare tarps, plastic, essentials on hand, which I am really grateful for. It came in very handy when we did have part of our barn roof that was damaged and it started leaking, that he was able to act quickly, him and the kids, and move the hay really quickly because I was actually at work at the time, and then get everything buttoned down with some tarps and plastic over it, because that would have been a huge, devastating loss if we had lost all of our hay as well. I mean, this spring, summer, we will have some pretty hefty repairs we're going to have to do to the roof. But for now, we're very grateful that God saved us from losing everything. There was a lot of farmers in our area that were not as lucky, that did lose all of their hay, and other chicken runs, chicken coops, things like that. So it's pretty devastating to see some of the damage that has been on the news and Facebook and different things like that.
Yeah, I think really the only major incident we had was the wind actually blew open the back door of our barn, and one of our livestock guardian dogs got out, and there was a section of fence that had fallen as well, and he got out, and all he did was just kind of patrol the property, and then I happened to be outside, and he happened to be coming around the corner, and he was happy to see me. We got him in, and we got the door closed in the barn, brought him back in, and it was no major incident at all. But it could have been drastically different, if the timing of things had been just a little bit off. But
yeah. Which is one of the things that is potentially controversial, but again, we've said it before: your farm, your rules; our farm, our rules. Many of you know that I'm very passionate about my livestock guardian dogs, my dogs and animals in general. I've done dog rescuing for a number of years. We've taken in quite a few rescues and found them proper homes, and some of them have stayed with us because we never found that perfect home for them. But typically, we don't lock our dogs up. They would be out with the livestock, roaming or whatever. But in the event of this farm, because we had fence panels blowing over faster than we could keep them up, and we definitely did not want our animals getting out, getting in the road, getting hurt. So we put all of our goats and chickens and dogs up in their respective barns so that nobody would get hurt. We had tree limbs coming down faster than we could keep up with as well. We definitely didn't want anybody getting hurt or just drenched because it was raining really, really hard, and then it got really, really cold. So we did end up putting everybody in. That's when the door blew open. But part of our emergency management plan and planning is that we have a place for our animals in the event of something like that were to happen, but also that our livestock guardian dogs are trained. If they have to, they will be crated in the event we had to do an evacuation. They do not like being in crates. I do not advocate keeping your dogs in crates for long periods of time. That is not what this is about. This is about the fact that they trust us enough to know if we ask them to go in the crate, they will go in the crate, and they can stay in the crate for an hour or two until we can transport them somewhere safely, or even just to the vet's office. Yeah, I'm not an advocate for crating your animals or even putting up your livestock guardian dogs under normal circumstances, but you do need to have a plan in place on what happens if you need to evacuate. How are you going to get your animals out safely? I understand some people have the thought of, I'm just going to open the gates and let them fend for themselves. And if you have a large ranch, maybe that's the only option you have. Or maybe if the animals have some place that they can go that's safe, then that might be an option for you. But for us, in the event, if we had to ever evacuate, it means it's pretty catastrophic. And in order for our animals to survive, they would have to evacuate with us. And so for us, we have a plan on what that would look like. And part of that is our dogs need to be able to be crated at least for short periods of time so that we can safely transport them and avoid fights or anything like that between our livestock guardian dogs and our pet dogs, or even our herd dogs. And so for us, it's a necessity. I think it's helpful to have dogs that will be created at least for a short car ride, or even if need be a couple hour long car ride to get out. So all of our dogs are taught pretty young that if I ask them to go in the crate, they're going to go in the crate. They don't like it. I'm not going to say that they enjoy it and willingly will go in, but they trust me enough to know that if I'm asking them to do something, there's a reason for it. And part of that is really building a bond, a working bond with your dog, so that they do trust you and that you trust them. Because it is a two-way street. I'm not going to get into a lot of that training because I am going to be doing a series about livestock guardian dogs and how we train our dogs. Again, I understand sometimes that can be very, very controversial. People are very opinionated sometimes on how they raise their dogs. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying we're right. I'm just going to share with you what we've done that's actually worked for us with the dogs that we've had. And I guess we'll leave it there, and make sure you check out those videos when they post. So don't forget to like our channel and hit the notification bell so that you are notified when we do post those videos and some of the training techniques and things that we do with our dogs.
Well, that's it for this one. I'd like to thank you all for watching and for watching all the videos that we've put out this year. We are very grateful for your support, for every subscriber, for every like, for every comment and share. For every view. All of it is important to us, and we are very grateful.
Yes, and we hope that you all have a wonderful holiday season, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and we hope you all stay safe.
And we'll see you in the next video.